I, Dr. Dave Nichol, will do my very best to give you a somewhat useful and possibly entertaining answer. Absolutely no guarantees provided on this one, but it should be a lot of fun. Okay, so the premise is you guys send in the questions that are all about the business of veterinary medicine. Okay, so we're talking marketing, we're talking leadership, we're talking people, we're talking about just anything that doesn't involve the fixing of a pet. So please, if you want advice on surgery, don't ask me. I'll give you an answer. Like I like opening my mouth and flapping my gums, but it might not be an answer that keeps you out from under the feet of a board investigation. All right, let's just get out there to start with. So let's keep it all about business. Let's keep it about relationships. Let's keep it about all the stuff that gets in the way of medicine when we're trying to do these things, right? So you send the questions, I'll give you some answers. I've got 3 great questions lined up for you today from our first 3 people. No, I love this question. It's an awesome one to start with. Mary's question is, does everyone feel like a fraud? Or is it just me? Mary? Dude, I think, like, honestly, if this is all about imposter syndrome, right? That little voice in the back of your head that goes, you can't do that. That's for somebody else. Yeah, that's not for you. You're not good enough. You know, that little fear voice that gets you to not do anything. Like, I would prefer you not get out of bed if you didn't have to, right? That's what that voice is all about. So the question is, does everyone feel like a fraud, or is it just me? And I think the way the question's asked makes it sound like it's a bad thing, Mary. And I'm going to flip this one right round on its head. I don't think it's bad for you to feel like a fraud, unless you don't have a veterinary degree and you're in the exam room diagnosing stuff. Then, not so cool, okay? Then, yes, you should feel like a fraud. But let's assume that you have the relevant qualifications and that you are doing your thing, okay? And so here's what feeling a fraud is all about. It's about pushing you outside of your comfort zone, okay? And I think that's why I think it is healthy to feel like a fraud. If you never feel like a fraud, it's because you're completely within your comfort zone. If you're within your comfort zone, you are not growing. You're not getting bigger, better, and stronger at something, okay? In order to do those things, you have to push outside of your comfort zone. And as soon as you do that, you are into the land of experiential learning, which is a really fancy way of saying screwing stuff up. And not feeling like the hero or the expert. Well, that's exactly where you want to be, Mary. Exactly where you want to be. So, does everyone feel like a fraud? I hope so. Like, do I feel like a fraud when I'm doing new stuff? Absolutely. And I do new stuff all the time. I don't think you should think this is a bad thing, Mary. I think, let's answer the question more directly. Yeah, I think everyone probably does at some point feel like a fraud. And I'll guarantee you, anyone who's doing anything cool or different or seems like they're a rock star in some way will feel like they're a fraud along the way, okay? So do not be put off, do not be discouraged. I want you to embrace that feeling of being a fraud and lean into it, push into what you're doing and prevail. You'll come out the other side and you will be a better person for it. Thank you for the question, Mary. I love it. Moving on. Question 2. I'm paid on production, but the boss doesn't show me all the numbers. How do I know I'm getting a fair shake? Oh boy, where do you start with this one? Okay, let's break it down. I'm just going to break it down how it grammatically appears. Okay, so right up to the first comma, we've got I'm paid on production. Honestly, I think that's just a bad start. Okay, there is just no shortage of evidence, and this is not from the veterinary profession per se, but from looking at vocational professions that says people like you and I, doctors, dentists, we're not motivated by it. In fact, we are materially demotivated when somebody dangles the money carrot over us because it's not the reason we got into it. If we were vocationally interested in money, then we would have got into trading or something like that, right? We are vocationally interested in caring. So my question is, I'm not even sure why anyone wants to work in a production. Like, I get why businesses pay on it. I get the mentality that says, hey, if I give people a slice of the pie, then they're going to push harder. But there is almost no evidence to support that actually works. In fact, there's counter evidence to say that is not a good thing to be doing in your business. So, I realize that's not the question you asked, so let's get on to that. I'm paid on production, but the boss doesn't show me all the numbers. All right, part 2, the boss doesn't show you all the numbers. So I'm just not liking the setup of this system, right? You're being asked to work on the goodwill of someone who wishes to remain secretive about numbers that you really ought to see. What's the equivalent of that? I mean, it's like saying dropping your car and just into the garage to be serviced and leaving your credit card and then going, hey, so there's the PIN number, I'll be back to pick them up later. And then the garage saying, well, you don't even need to look at the receipts, we probably won't show you the receipts, and we've locked you out from access to your bank account, so you're just gonna have to trust us, dude. Okay, and the problem with that is it's showing a lack of trust in the reverse. Like, I, for one, in my practices, I like to share data. And I hire people who respond to data. So I want to have people working for me that are interested not in numbers over medicine, but not in medicine to the exclusion of financial numbers, okay? So I think it's really important that you do have access to the numbers and revenue, okay? And so the short answer is, how do you know you're getting a fair shake? You don't, and I can't tell you if you are. But I think the way you solve your problem, because the question is, how do you know you're getting a fair shake? The actual problem I think you're trying to solve here is, do I trust my boss and am I getting paid fairly? Okay, so I'm going to flip this back at you and go, what is the conversation you need to have with your boss in order to feel that the answer to that question is, yes, I'm being remunerated fairly and I am working for somebody that I trust and respect enough that I want to spend time in that business. Make sense? Okay, and just as a general yardstick of what vets could or should be making, like a lot of practices, I'm not saying this is right or wrong, I'm just saying this is a number I've heard a lot of times, like doctor salaries are roughly 20% of their production, the revenue that they generate. And that would generally be if you were operating in a business that we're saying after sales taxes were removed. Okay, so if you are generating, let's say, let's just keep the math. You see how I did there? I almost went American and said math, and then I put an S on because I just can't say it as a singular. Can't do it. If you were generating, let's keep it all nice and simple, $100,000 in a year. Okay, like apart from the fact that you'd get shot because that's not enough to sustain a business on, but if you were generating that level, and that was then after tax, so you maybe had a 10% or 20% sales tax on that, you have to differentiate that. So it's your net number. If you get a gross number and then you look at your pay slip and it's like 20% light, then that's what's going on there, okay? So you look at that and then you're going to be looking at $20,000 as your take-home pay, which is obviously going to make you weep because you will be able to afford nothing except bread and cans of beans for the next forever, okay? But that's sort of roughly the number, the percentage number you're looking at. 20% of whatever your revenue generation is a pretty viable number for a business to be profitable. And there are variations on that. I worked in a system that was 19%. I've heard of people making 25%, but it is really role dependent. And so I don't want to give you a specific number. But I think you just got to have the conversation with your boss, dude, and just say, look, can you show me some numbers? Because if they're setting up a system where you are being motivated to produce based on numbers, then it is insane to not give you those numbers that you can gauge your own level of performance. Capiche? Makes sense? Awesome. Let's move on. Question number 3. I can't do anything in my free time because I spend a lot of time doing paperwork. You know, all that charting after I'm done with appointments. Any tips? And that's coming from Bill, who is in Oklahoma. So, Bill, this is not an uncommon thing. Vets getting slayed by the time monster. Okay. So I'm going to assume by free time, Bill, you mean the time after which your shift is meant to end. This is like a serious disease in our industry. Vets doing heaps of unpaid overtime. And I don't think, like, it's easy to point a finger at the evil boss here and go, you're not paying us extra money for the time we're here, and that's not fair. But in actual fact, I think if we looked at the productivity and the efficiency with how we go about our days, we have no one to blame but ourselves. Now, I'm going to link this answer right back to the previous answer on production, okay? I think that if you're a doctor, and let's say your shift is 8 hours long, and I know there's huge variation in this, but roll with me, okay? 8 hours long. The first maybe 3 hours of your day are going to be consultations. So in the exam room, working out what's going on with animals in appointments. The second half of your day is going to involve some procedural work, so x-rays or diagnostics or surgery or dentistry or something like that, okay? That's the way a lot of businesses break it down. So if you start attaching some numbers in there, then it means that, if you want to have a good living, okay, and let's say you want to earn $100,000 a year. Well, we already said that means you've got to generate $500,000 in a year. Okay, that's going to be your 20% take home of that is going to be 100,000. Okay, that's the sort of they're the sums. So you then break that down, and I know that across the world everybody gets different amounts of vacation time, and you guys kind of get. In the US, you get one of the hardest deals out there, and you get a couple of weeks off. So let's just say you maybe got 260, maybe somewhere between 260 and 270 working days in a year, and that they're the ones you have available to make that money. Okay, so now you're going to take your 500,000 that you've got to generate and divide that by that number, by 270. Okay, and that's going to give you a daily total that you have to generate, and you're going to have an opportunity to generate it through consultations and through procedures. Okay, so you just need to do the sums on this, and when you do that, you're going to work out, and I'm not going to give you exact figures just now because I don't have a calculator for a brain, but in my hospitals, and certainly when I was working as an associate, I always used to think, okay, if I can generate like $3,000 in a day, then I think I'm doing a very, very good job. And if I can do that over a period of 250 days, I'm actually going to generate about $700,000. That's a top end whackingly brilliant performance. Okay, bottom end of that might be half of that. You might have somebody generating doctor generating you $1,500 in a day. Okay. And so you need to be somewhere in the middle of that figure to generate a good revenue. So let's just say that you can generate $1,000 out of your 3 hours of consultations in total. And then that leaves you an afternoon where maybe you've got 4 hours. Okay, let's say you've got a 7-hour shift. You've got 3 in the morning, you've got 4 in the afternoon, and then you've got an hour for lunch or breaks, and then you've got to do some paperwork as well in there. Okay, so hold on, we forgot the paperwork, right? So you either got 3 in the morning and you've got 3 hours of operations, and then you really need to build yourself in a solid hour to catch up on the charting, the billing, the calling of clients with results, the insurance paperwork, all of that stuff that we don't like doing. So how do you do that and stay sane? Well, I think you just have to realistically look at the number of ops you can do in that 3-hour period. And probably the maximum answer to that is 2 of any significant note. I'm not talking about sterilizations here, of course, but like 2 dentals, that's doable in 3 hours. A reasonable sized intestinal surgery and a dental, that's doable in 3 hours at a push. Okay, so you're working to maximize that. As soon as you go beyond the number that you're capable of doing, though, then you crush your time, and then the paperwork monster is on you, and it's not a monster that ever goes away, because you're going to have to do the forms tomorrow or the day after that or after that, and of course tomorrow has its own forms to do, has its own blood results to report back. So you are creating this ever-growing problem for yourself that you will never escape if you don't manage your time properly. My advice is for you to sit down, chart out your day, chart out how many hours you have available, build in your lunch break, because yes, you need to be sane and nobody likes Mad Bunny running around the practice, right? And also build in yourself an hour of calls and paperwork and billing time. But trust me, this will pay for itself, because most vets, even in the billing alone, because we're doing it so fast and we're stressed, most of us miss somewhere between 5 to 50% of the work we've done and can genuinely charge for without clients being angry with us, okay? That's huge, all of its own. But then to keep on top of your insurances, your lab results, and of course lab results turn into more workups once you've got your, once you've worked out what's going on there. These are all super important things you got to be working on, okay? So if you don't have free time because you're spending all the time doing your paperwork, I'm going to flip this back on you and tell you, you need to say no to some of the work and spread it around. Like, I bet you there are some doctors in your hospital who would love to do a little bit more work. If you're the boss, and this question, like, Bill does not tell me if he's the boss here or not, and this is you, then you are almost certainly guilty of micromanaging and trying to take over everybody else's work. I'll promise you that you hired a few people that can help you with that, okay? So start delegating stuff, coaching, training. When everybody runs to you for all the questions, don't give them the answers. Like, ask them how they would solve the problem, and if their answers sound halfway sensible, like their practice isn't going to go boom because of something that they said, then let them do it, because they'll learn, they'll grow, and your time machine, that is your time machine, your time will start becoming your own again. All right, I hope there was some value in there for you today, guys. That is it. We're going to do 3 questions. Email them in and tweet them in, and we will absolutely answer as many of them as we possibly can and offer you some massive big value. My Twitter handle is @Dr. Dave Nichol, so please tweet questions into me there. You can do it on the Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Dr. Dave Nichol. Getting a clue there. And you can email me a question if you want to hello@drdavenichol.com. Thank you for watching. Look forward to seeing you in the next show, and do not forget to subscribe. Thanks, guys. Have a great week.